Previously on this story, Charles, the billionaire who built houses for his siblings, gave them businesses, and even made them rich, returned home from abroad pretending to be poor, just to test their love. But instead of standing by him, they rejected him. Amanda turned her back, Elijah lied to him and sent him out of his house, and Henry insulted him, even asking him to be his gateman. With tears in his eyes, Charles revealed he was never poor and was still a billionaire. Then he cut them off and drove away, broken and betrayed. Stay tuned, because what happens next will shock you even more. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss any of our interesting story. After Charles' car rolled out of the compound, silence filled the living room. The ticking of the big wall clock was the only sound that echoed. Mima Obi's chest heaved as she looked at her children, Elijah, Henry, and Amanda with her husband. Her eyes were red, not only from crying but from the deep disappointment burning inside her. She stood up slowly, her voice trembling but strong. So this is what my children have become? After everything Charles did for you? After he gave you life, gave you money, gave you houses, gave you comfort, this is how you pay him back? With wickedness? With rejection? With shame? Amanda bent her head, tears filling her eyes. Elijah shifted uneasily in his chair. Henry leaned back, crossing his legs arrogantly. Amanda suddenly broke into sobs. Mama, please. I know I failed. I know I disappointed Brother Charles. I don't know what came over me. I was scared, maybe selfish. I regret everything. I feel terrible for shutting him out. I am sorry. Mama Obi's eyes softened slightly, but her voice was still stern. Amanda, you should not be telling me you are sorry. It is Charles you hurt. It is Charles you must beg. I am only his mother. I carried him in my womb. Yes, but he carried you with his sweat. Your apology belongs to him. Amanda cried harder, covering her face with her hands. Her husband rubbed her back quietly but said nothing, guilt written all over his face. Henry suddenly slammed his palm on the table, his voice sharp. Enough of this crying and shouting. Why is everyone behaving like I killed somebody? What did I even do that was so bad? I only told him to be my gateman as a temporary thing. At least it's work. Was I supposed to make him sit in my house eating free food? I needed time to arrange myself before helping him. Everyone is making it sound like I threw him into the street. Mema Obi's eyes widened in disbelief. Henry, do you hear yourself? Your own brother. The same brother who built your first house, the same brother who gave you millions when you had nothing, came to you broken and ashamed, and all you could think of was to make him open your gate. Of all the jobs in this world, that is what you thought was good enough for him. Henry hissed and waved his hand. Mama, Abeg, Charles is a billionaire, yes, richer than me. But let me tell you, I am still very rich. I have plenty money. I don't need Charles. I don't need anybody. So don't make it look like I am dying because he has turned his back on me. Is this why you people summoned me here? If that's all, I am leaving. He stood up angrily, adjusted his wristwatch, and started walking toward the door. Mama Obi clutched her chest in pain, shaking her head. Henry, may God judge you for this heart of stone. Elijah, who had been silent all along, finally spoke. His voice was calmer but defensive. Mama, I admit I feel bad. But let's also talk about Charles' part in this. Why would he even pretend to be poor in the first place? Why would he test us like that? Does he not trust us? If he truly loved us, he should not have tried to deceive us. Now he is acting like everything is our fault. It is not fair. Mama, what he did was wrong too. Mima Obi turned sharply, her eyes blazing. Elijah, listen to yourself. If truly something terrible had happened to Charles, if he had genuinely lost everything, would this be how you would treat him? By chasing him away? By lying that you were traveling when you were having a party? By closing your doors against him? Is this how to love a brother? Instead of bowing your head in shame, you are here blaming him for testing you. Elijah bent his head, guilt washing over him, but he could not argue further. Mama Obi stood in the middle of the parlor, her voice breaking with emotion. All of you have failed me. You have failed your father's name. And worst of all, you have failed Charles. He gave you everything, but when it was your turn to show love, you gave him nothing but rejection. Instead of going on your knees to call your brother and beg him for forgiveness, you are here making excuses. Her voice dropped into sorrow. My heart is heavy. I regret that I raised children who cannot see the value of blood. If I close my eyes in death tomorrow, what will become of this family? What will you do to one another? Amanda sobbed louder, whispering, Mama, please. I will beg him. I will beg Brother Charles. Mama Obi looked at her with cold eyes. Make sure you do. Because if not, the shame of this wickedness will never leave this family. She sat down slowly, wiping her tears with the edge of her wrapper, while her children sat in silence, each one drowning in guilt, excuses, and pride. The G-Wagon glided smoothly through the busy streets of Lagos. The tinted windows reflected the bright lights of the city, but inside, Charles sat quietly, staring out, his heart still heavy from the storm at the family mansion. He shifted in his seat and sighed. I'm hungry, he said softly. Look for a place where I can eat. Yes, sir, the driver replied, steering the vehicle toward Victoria Island. Soon, they stopped at a well-known restaurant. The driver remained in the car, shaking his head. Sir, I'm not hungry. I'll wait here. Charles nodded, stepped out, and walked into the restaurant. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with activity. Waiters moved about quickly, serving steaming plates of jollof rice, pepper soup, and grilled chicken. Charles chose a quiet corner, ordered fried rice with chicken and a glass of wine, and began to eat slowly, his mind still replaying the faces of Elijah, Henry, and Amanda. Suddenly, a voice called from behind. Excuse me, Mr. Charles? Is that you? Charles looked up, surprised. A middle-aged man in a well-tailored suit stood before him, smiling warmly. His face was faintly familiar, but Charles couldn't place him. You don't remember me? The man asked gently. I'm Johnson, from your village. Years ago, you sponsored an empowerment program. I was one of the beneficiaries. That small amount you gave me, it changed my life. Today, I am who I am because of you. Charles' eyes widened. Slowly, a smile crept onto his face. All thanks to God, he said softly. Mr. Johnson pulled out a chair and sat opposite him, his eyes glowing with admiration. Mr. Charles, please forgive me for disturbing your meal. But I heard things are rough for you now. They said the government seized your properties. They said you returned with nothing. Charles froze for a moment, silent, his fork suspended in the air. He only looked down, allowing Johnson to continue. Johnson's face softened. I'm so sorry for what you are passing through. You don't deserve this. You are a good man. You helped people when you didn't have to. And now, if there's any way I can help you, please let me. I have already taken care of your bill here. Anne. He reached into his pocket, brought out a complimentary card, and pushed it toward Charles. Hey, call me. I have a manager's position open in my company. You don't have to worry about anything. And if you don't want to work for me, I am ready to support you financially so you can start your own business again. Whatever you choose, I'll stand by you. I just want to see you rise to your feet again. Charles stared at the card. His hand trembled as he picked it up. Tears filled his eyes and rolled down his cheeks, right there in the restaurant. Johnson looked concerned. Please, don't cry, Mr. Charles. People like you don't deserve to suffer. If anyone deserves to be helped, it is you." Charles wiped his tears slowly. His voice cracked as he spoke. "Mr. Johnson, thank you. Thank you for your heart. You remind me that there are still good people in this world. But I must tell you the truth." He looked Johnson in the eyes, his voice steady now. "I am not poor. I was never broke. The government never seized my properties. I am still a billionaire, richer than ever before. Everything you heard was a test for my family. And they failed me." Johnson's mouth dropped open, shocked. "You mean, you are still—" "Yes," Charles nodded firmly. "I am still a billionaire, and I don't need your financial help. But, Mr. Johnson, you have shown me what true kindness is. You offered help without me asking. You were willing to give without expecting anything in return. That makes you richer than many so-called family members. Never change, my brother. Keep being good." Johnson's eyes softened, and he smiled humbly. "All thanks to God. May He continue to bless you, Mr. Charles." That evening, Charles returned to his Lekki mansion. The compound was wide and quiet, the lights from the chandeliers inside glowing warmly against the night. He entered his living room, poured himself a glass of red wine, and sat on the leather sofa. The silence around him felt louder than any noise. He thought about Johnson, a man he barely knew, who was ready to lift him up without question. And then he thought about Elijah, Henry, and Amanda, his own blood, who mocked him, rejected him, and cast him aside when they believed he had nothing. The wine glass shook in his hand as tears welled in his eyes again. "How can a stranger show me more love than my own family?" he whispered. "How can someone I barely know want to help me rise, while those I sacrificed for treated me like dust?" He covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking as sobs escaped. His mansion was full of gold, marble, and wealth, yet his heart felt empty, wounded by betrayal. That night, the taste of wine was bitter on his tongue, mixed with the salt of his tears. Months had rolled by since Charles walked out of the family mansion, leaving his siblings drowning in guilt, excuses, and pride. Charles was living his quiet life in Lekki, but Elijah, Henry, and Amanda continued enjoying their wealth as if nothing had happened. Henry, especially, was living large. His nights were spent in clubs with friends and women, his laughter filling the air as bottles of champagne popped open. To him, life was good, and nothing could shake his empire. But one night, everything changed. Henry was in the middle of the club, surrounded by women, his face glowing with pride, when his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. It was his shipping agent. He smiled faintly and answered, "Yes, my man. Tell me my containers have arrived." The voice on the other end was heavy. "Ogre Henry, we have a big problem. Customs has seized all 3 of your containers. They said they found contraband hidden inside." Henry froze. The noise of the club faded in his ears. His glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. His chest tightened. What did you just say?" The agent repeated, "The containers are gone. Customs won't release them." Henry's whole body shook. "But I invested everything. Everything I have is in those containers." The line went silent for a moment. Then the agent said, "There may be a way. I know one officer that can help us. But he's asking for 50 million Nigerian nairas." The call ended, leaving Henry staring blankly at the flashing lights of the club. The laughter and music around him no longer made sense. He stood up and staggered out, his heart pounding. When Henry got home, he locked himself in his room. He paced back and forth, pulling at his hair, sweat dripping from his forehead. His whole fortune was tied to those containers. He grabbed his phone and dialed the agent again. "Are you sure this officer can help? 50 million Nigerian nairas is a lot of money." The agent replied, "It's the only way. If we don't act fast, the goods will be destroyed." Henry collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands. He had taken huge loans from the bank and used his mansion as collateral. If he lost this deal, he would lose everything. For the next 2 weeks, Henry ran around, selling his land and even his luxury car. The once proud man who mocked Charles now humbled himself, begging buyers for quick cash. Finally, he gathered 50 million Nigerian nairas and transferred it to the agent. For the first time in weeks, he sighed with relief. At least now I can breathe. But his relief was short-lived. 2 weeks later, Henry tried to reach his agent again, but the number was switched off. He called endlessly. No answer. He went to the man's office. It was locked. Panic rose in his chest. He called a mutual friend, who told him the devastating truth. "Henry, haven't you heard? That agent has relocated abroad. He duped you." The words hit Henry like thunder. His legs gave way, and he fell heavily to the floor. His vision blurred. His mouth opened, but no words came out. He had been scammed of everything. Moments later, his gateman heard a loud thud and rushed inside. He found Henry unconscious on the ground. "Oga! Oga Henry!" the man shouted. He quickly called for help and rushed him to the hospital. When Henry opened his eyes in the hospital bed, he looked like a shadow of the proud man he once was. His beard was unkempt, his eyes sunken, his skin pale. The doctor warned him to stay calm, but his mind was far from calm. Everything was gone. His containers, his money, his car, his land, and Weiss, his debt to the bank still stood. A week later, Henry heard the dreaded sound of cars pulling up outside his mansion. Policemen and bank officials stepped out. They marched into the compound and locked the gates. Henry watched in horror from the balcony as they nailed a notice on his door, "Property seized by the bank." Tears rolled down his cheeks as reality hit him like a hammer. His mansion was gone. His wealth was gone. He had nothing left. With no other option, Henry packed a few clothes into a small bag. His friends had deserted him. The women who once flocked around him were nowhere to be found. His phone stopped ringing. Broken and ashamed, Henry boarded a bus, heading to the village. He covered his face with a cap, too embarrassed to meet the eyes of the passengers beside him. When the bus finally stopped at his mother's compound, Henry stepped down, dragging his bag weakly behind him. His clothes were rough, his shoes worn out. Musa the gateman opened the gate and gasped in shock. "Oga Henry? What happened? You look like shadow of yourself." Henry said nothing. He walked in silently, his pride shattered, his shoulders slumped. Mama Obi, who was sitting at the balcony, saw him and dropped her wrapper in disbelief. "Henry? My son? What is this I'm seeing? Where is your car? And why are you looking like this?" Henry collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Mama, everything is gone. I have lost it all." The night was quiet, the crickets singing in the bushes around the Obi family mansion. Henry knelt on the ground before his mother, his tears dripping onto the dusty floor. Mama Obi's heart ached at the sight of her once proud son, now broken and empty. She reached out, touched his shoulder, and whispered, her voice heavy with both pity and wisdom. "My son, life is unpredictable. Wealth comes today and flies away tomorrow. Nothing lasts forever. That is why we must never use our riches to look down on others. Because the same chair of comfort we sit on today may be pulled from under us tomorrow." Henry sobbed loudly, pressing his face against her lap. "Mama, forgive me. I was blind with pride. Now everything is gone. Everything." Mama Obi stroked his head slowly, her own tears falling. But deep inside, she remembered the day Henry told Charles to become his gateman. Now, life had humbled him into worse humiliation. Meanwhile, in the city, Elijah's life was about to take a terrible turn. One evening, he sat in his grand sitting room with his two close friends, James and Stanley. They were drinking, laughing, and watching a football match on the large flat-screen TV. Elijah raised his glass to toast when suddenly he winced. "Ah, I feel dizzy," he murmured. Before his friends could react, Elijah collapsed to the floor. His glass shattered beside him. "Jesus! Elijah!" James screamed. He and Stanley rushed to him, panicked. Within minutes, they carried him into James' car and sped to the hospital. At the hospital, doctors rushed Elijah into the emergency room. James and Stanley waited outside anxiously. Hours later, a doctor walked out holding a file. "Are you his relatives?" the doctor asked. "No, but we're his friends," James said nervously. "What happened to him?" The doctor sighed. "We ran several tests. Your friend has kidney failure. His kidneys are no longer functioning properly. We need to start him on dialysis immediately. But eventually, he will need a kidney transplant if he is to survive." James gasped. Stanley shook his head in shock. When Elijah regained consciousness later, the doctor explained everything to him. Elijah stared at the ceiling, tears rolling down his face. "Kidney failure? Me? But I'm too young for this." From that day, Elijah's life changed forever. Every week, Elijah was wheeled into the hospital for dialysis. Each session drained him physically and financially. He grew weaker by the day. His once broad shoulders shrank. His once glowing skin looked pale. The money that once flowed freely for parties, drinks, and luxury cars was now flowing into hospital bills. Slowly, his business began to collapse. He stopped going to work, unable to handle the stress. His friends stopped visiting. His wealth melted away like butter in the sun. One afternoon, as Elijah lay weakly in bed after another dialysis session, his phone buzzed. It was Henry. He picked up slowly. "Hello, Henry." Henry's voice was tired and heavy. "Elijah, it's me. I don't even know how to say this. I've lost everything. My containers, my mansion, all gone. I came back to the village. Mama has been consoling me." Elijah closed his eyes, tears spilling. "Henry, I wish I could help you. But I too have lost everything. I am sick, very sick. The doctor says my kidneys have failed. I need a transplant to survive." His voice broke into sobs. "Henry, I've spent everything I had on dialysis. I am drowning." Henry pressed the phone to his ear, his face wet with tears. He shook his head in disbelief. "Elijah, is this what our lives have become?" Both brothers wept quietly, unable to find the right words. At last, Henry whispered, "What will we even say to Charles after the way we treated him? How can we face him now?" There was silence. Both knew the truth. They had destroyed the bridge that could have saved them. That evening, Henry sat with Mama Obi on the balcony. His eyes were swollen from crying. "Mama, Elijah is sick. Very sick. The doctor says he has kidney failure. He has been on dialysis. Mama, Elijah is dying." Mama Obi's hands flew to her chest. She let out a sharp cry. "Jesus Christ, my child." The next morning, Mama Obi wrapped her wrapper tightly, tied a scarf on her head, and boarded the first bus to the hospital in the city. When she entered Elijah's hospital room, her heart broke. Her once vibrant son now looked pale and thin, his cheeks hollow, his lips dry. Elijah tried to smile, but his tears betrayed him. "Mama," he whispered weakly. Mama Obi rushed to his side, held his hand, and wept bitterly. "My son, oh, my son, is this what life has done to you?" Her cries filled the room, echoing the pain of a mother watching her children crumble before her eyes. The morning sun beat down hard on the village as Henry tied a rag around his head and picked up a rusty shovel. Once, he was a proud owner of mansions and jeeps, with workers answering to his command. Now, He bent his back at a construction site, sweating under the harsh sun, working as a common laborer. The other workers laughed quietly among themselves. "See this man," one of them whispered. "A rich man before. Now him they carry cement." Henry ignored them. He lifted bags of cement, mixed sand, and carried blocks until his hands blistered and his shoulders ached. Every drop of sweat that rolled down his face reminded him of the day he told Charles to be his gateman. Now life had made him one. Meanwhile, in the city, Amanda and her husband, Robert, were seated in their lavish sitting room. The air conditioner hummed gently, and Amanda scrolled through her phone while Robert sipped a glass of juice. Suddenly, Amanda's phone rang. She picked it up and saw it was her mother. "Mama," she said, smiling. But Mama Obi's voice was heavy with sorrow. "Amanda, your brother Elijah is very sick. His kidneys have failed. He is in the hospital. I am with him now." Amanda's smile vanished. Her heart dropped. "What? Elijah? Kidney failure?" "Yes," Mama Obi's voice cracked. "He is suffering, my daughter. He needs you. He needs all of you." Amanda's hand trembled as she ended the call. She looked at Robert, her eyes wet. "Mama said Elijah is in the hospital. He is very sick." Robert frowned and shook his head. We'll go see him later." Amanda nodded slowly, but her heart felt heavy. She went to bed that night unable to sleep, regret gnawing at her soul. The next morning, Amanda dropped her children at school and returned home. Robert left for work. She entered the kitchen to warm food. Absent-mindedly, she placed a pot of oil on the gas cooker and stepped out to take a quick phone call. The phone call dragged longer than she expected. By the time she returned, flames were already rising from the pot. She screamed, grabbed a rag, and tried to cover it, but the fire leapt onto the curtains. Within seconds, the kitchen was ablaze. Amanda ran out shouting, "Fire! Fire!" The neighbors rushed with buckets of water, but the flames spread too fast. Robert was at his office when his phone rang. It was their neighbor. "Mr. Robert, your house. It's on fire." His heart skipped a beat. "What?" He dropped everything, ran to his car, and sped off, his hands shaking as he dialed the fire service. But Lagos traffic was merciless. He honked, shouted, and weaved between cars, sweat pouring down his face. "Please, please God, don't let me lose everything," he prayed. By the time the fire truck finally reached their estate, it was too late. The once beautiful cream and gold duplex stood in ruins, reduced to charred walls and ashes. Robert staggered out of his car, staring in disbelief. His voice broke as he cried, "My God! My house!" Amanda stood by the gate, wailing uncontrollably, her wrapper loose around her shoulders. Neighbors held her, trying to comfort her, but she screamed and fell to the ground. They had not been able to save a single thing. Clothes, furniture, documents, jewelry, all gone in the flames. That night, Amanda and Robert sat quietly in a neighbor's house, staring blankly at the floor. Their children slept on borrowed mattresses. Their world had collapsed in a single day. Amanda whispered through her tears, "Everything is gone, Robert. Everything." Robert covered his face with his palms. His voice choked. "We are finished. Completely finished." Amanda remembered her brother Charles. The day she shut him out of her house, the day she told him times were hard. Tears stung her eyes as she realized life had come full circle. The evening breeze blew softly through the Obi family mansion. Mama Obi sat quietly on the veranda, her heart heavy from Elijah's illness and Henry's downfall. She rocked slowly on her chair, praying silently when her phone began to ring. It was Amanda. Her voice was shaky, broken with tears. "Mama," she whispered. Mama Obi sat upright. "Amanda? What is it? Why do you sound like this?" "Mama, our house is gone. It burned down today. Everything inside was destroyed. We couldn't save anything. Mama Obi's hand flew to her chest. Jesus. Fire. Amanda, are you and your children safe? Yes, Mama, Amanda sobbed. We are alive. But everything else is gone. The house, the cars, the documents, our clothes, all of it. Mama Obi's voice cracked with sorrow. My daughter. Oh, my daughter. What is happening to this family? Why is calamity falling one after the other? The next morning, Mama Obi gathered all her strength and went to Elijah's hospital ward. Elijah lay pale and weak, an oxygen tube clipped to his nose. She sat by his bedside, holding his frail hand. Her tears dripped onto his skin as she whispered, My son, your sickness is breaking me. Henry walked in quietly, his clothes dusty from the construction site. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes hollow. He could hardly look at Elijah without crying. Mama, he said softly, I came straight from the site. I couldn't rest. I heard Amanda's house burned down yesterday. Mama Obi closed her eyes as tears ran down her wrinkled face. Yes, I heard. My children, all of you, suffering one after the other. First Henry, then Elijah, now Amanda. Is this God's punishment for the way you treated your brother Charles? Her voice grew louder, echoing through the ward. When Charles came back pretending to be poor, you mocked him. You despised him. You pushed him away. You forgot all the good he did for you. And now, look, each of you has been struck in the very place you put your pride. Henry dropped to his knees, tears spilling. Mama, I am finished. I am no longer the man I used to be. I now work at construction sites like a laborer. I carry cement. I dig trenches, just to eat one meal a day. Mama, I deserve this, because I told my brother to be my gateman. Now life has made me one. Elijah's weak voice trembled as he spoke. Mama, I too am paying for my wickedness. My kidneys have failed. All my money is gone on treatments. I have nothing left. His lips quivered. I remember how I lied to Charles that I was traveling when I was actually partying. Mama, maybe God is judging me. Amanda entered quietly, her eyes red from crying. She knelt beside her mother and said, Mama, my house is gone. The fire took everything. Sometimes I wish I had not rejected Charles that day. Maybe this wouldn't have happened to me. Mama, I regret everything. Mama Obi looked at them all, her sons and daughter, once proud and wealthy, now broken and humbled. Her chest rose and fell heavily. You see how life humbles the proud? Your brother Charles gave you everything. He lifted you up when you had nothing. And the very moment he asked for love, you spat in his face. Now God himself has shown you how it feels to lose everything. Her tears fell freely. I warned you, but you would not listen. Now look at you, one sick, one homeless, one a laborer. My heart is broken, but I will not hide the truth. You brought this upon yourselves. The three siblings wept quietly, shame drowning their souls. Amanda whispered, Mama, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Mama Obi looked up toward the ceiling, her eyes glistening with tears. There's only one thing to do. You must go back to your brother Charles. You must kneel before him, confess your wickedness, and beg for forgiveness. If not, I fear this suffering will never leave you. The room fell into silence. The siblings exchanged uneasy glances. The thought of facing Charles, after all they had done to him, filled them with dread. Elijah turned his face away, ashamed. Henry clenched his fists in guilt. Amanda wiped her tears, whispering, Mama is right. We must beg him, or else we are finished. The room was still heavy with silence when suddenly the television mounted on the wall in Elijah's hospital ward flickered to life. An advert played, showing aerial shots of one of the biggest estates in Lagos, wide streets, glass houses, fountains, and green parks. The logo appeared boldly at the end, a Charles Obi estate project. The siblings froze. Amanda clutched her chest, her tears flowing afresh. "My house is gone, Mama," she sobbed. "I have nowhere to stay. Yet look, my brother owns estates upon estates. If only I wasn't cruel to him. If only I had opened my doors that day. Maybe he would have helped me. Oh, God, what have I done?" Henry dropped his face into his hands, ashamed. Even Elijah, too weak to speak much, closed his eyes in regret. Mama Obi shook her head slowly. "I told you. You mocked him when you thought he had nothing. But now you see, Charles was still the rock holding this family. Without him, all of you are falling apart." The next morning, Amanda and Henry followed Mama Obi to Charles' mansion in Lekki, a place so grand that it stood like a palace among palaces. High gates swung open, revealing a vast compound with luxury cars parked neatly. When Charles stepped out of the mansion and saw them, his face hardened. His eyes blazed with fury. "What are you doing here?" he barked. His voice thundered through the compound. "Henry, Amanda, leave my house this minute. You have no place here." Henry and Amanda froze, shame cutting them like knives. Their eyes dropped to the floor. But Mama Obi fell to her knees, her wrapper loosening as she raised her trembling hands. "My son, forgive them. Please, for my sake, forgive your brother and sister. They are your blood. Don't cast them away. If you reject them, you are rejecting me too." Charles' heart skipped. He could not bear the sight of his mother on the ground, crying for him. He rushed forward, lifted her with both hands, and held her tightly. "Mama, please don't do this," he said, tears forming in his eyes. "You must never kneel to me. You are my mother." He wiped her tears gently, then turned to Henry and Amanda, his voice softer but heavy with emotion. "Sit down. I have no grudges against you. I have forgiven you already. The pain you gave me is deep, but I will not carry hatred in my heart." Henry and Amanda burst into tears, their bodies shaking. Mama Obi quickly wiped her face. "Charles, my son, there is something else. Your brother Elijah, he is very sick. He has kidney failure. The doctor says he cannot survive without a transplant. Please, come with us." Charles' eyes widened, his chest tightening. "What? Elijah?" Without wasting time, he grabbed his car keys. "Let's go. Take me to the hospital." Together, Charles, Henry, Amanda, and Mama Obi, they drove in his black G-Wagon straight to the hospital. When they arrived, the doctor welcomed them into his office, his face grave. "How is my brother doing?" Charles asked urgently, his voice trembling. The doctor sighed. "Not very good. His kidneys have failed completely. Dialysis is only managing him, but it cannot save him forever. He needs a transplant." Charles stood up immediately. "Then test me. Check if my kidney matches. If it does, take mine. I don't care. Do it now. I will give him one of my kidneys." The doctor blinked, surprised by the firmness of his voice. "Mr. Charles, that is noble. But there is another option. We just got news of a matching kidney available in one of the top hospitals in India. If we act fast, we can fly Elijah there for surgery. The treatment there has higher success rates." Charles nodded without hesitation. "Then let's do it. Start the process immediately. Book the flight, book the hospital, prepare the documents. I don't care how much it costs. I don't want anything to happen to my brother. I just want him healthy again." Henry covered his face with both hands, weeping. Amanda buried her head in her palms, her body shaking with sobs. Henry whispered through tears, "After everything we did to him, after we rejected him, he is still fighting for us." Amanda's voice cracked. We don't deserve him. We don't deserve this love. Mama Obi held Charles' hand tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. My son, you have saved your family again. May God bless you. May your children never see shame. Charles looked at his siblings, his voice calm but full of pain. I forgive you. But let this be a lesson you will never forget. Wealth means nothing without love. And family without loyalty is nothing but strangers. The room fell into silence, their hearts heavy with both guilt and gratitude, as the process for Elijah's survival began. The hospital corridor was quiet, only the distant hum of machines and the soft footsteps of nurses filling the air. Charles walked slowly toward Elijah's ward, flanked by Henry, Amanda, and Mama Obi. His heart pounded heavily in his chest. When they entered the room, Elijah was lying weakly on the bed, and IV drip connected to his thin arm. His eyes fluttered open, and the moment he saw Charles, tears streamed down his pale cheeks uncontrollably. Brother Charles, his voice cracked, weak but desperate. Please, forgive me. I wronged you. I betrayed you. I mocked you when you needed me most. I don't deserve your love, but please, forgive me before I leave this world. Charles rushed to the bedside and held Elijah's trembling hand firmly. His own eyes glistened with tears. Shush, Elijah. Save your strength. I have already forgiven you. I forgave you, Henry, and Amanda long ago. I carry no grudges against you. What matters now is not the past but your life. You must focus on getting better. Elijah sobbed quietly, squeezing his brother's hand. Charles continued, his voice steady but emotional. I have spoken with the doctor. There's a matching kidney waiting for you in India. The process has already begun. We will fly you there for the transplant. Don't worry about anything. I will pay for it all. You just focus on fighting for your life. Mama Obi pressed her wrapper against her wet face, crying loudly. God bless you, my son. God bless you. Charles turned, looking at Henry and Amanda, who stood frozen, their faces wet with tears. My siblings, he said gently, I cannot watch you suffer. I know you wronged me. I know you rejected me. But you are still my blood. I will help you rise again. I will support you to rebuild your businesses. And each of you will have one mansion in any of my estates. Choose whichever you want. You will never lack a roof over your heads again. Henry broke down, falling to his knees. Brother Charles, after all we did, after all our wickedness, you are still lifting us up. Amanda sobbed loudly, clutching her chest. We don't deserve you, brother. We don't. We rejected you, and yet you are giving us life again. May heaven bless you. The room was filled with uncontrollable weeping, tears of shame, tears of relief, tears of healing. Elijah kept whispering thank you over and over, while Charles wiped his eyes quietly, his heart heavy but at peace. Mama Obi looked at her children, then at Charles, and raised her trembling hands toward the ceiling. God, I thank you. The son they despised is the one you used to save them. Let this family never forget this day. Charles hugged his mother and whispered, Mama, it's not about me. It's about love. Without forgiveness, we are not a family. And for the first time in many years, the Obi family felt the weight of true love, broken but restored, wounded but healed. Life has a way of humbling the proud and lifting the forgotten. Charles' story reminds us that love and forgiveness are more powerful than riches. Even when betrayed, he chose to forgive, heal, and restore his family. His heart, though wounded, became the very bridge that saved them. Wealth fades, houses burn, health fails, but true love and loyalty never die. From this story we have come to learn to never despise those who once lifted you. The hand that fed you yesterday may be the same hand that saves you tomorrow. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the greatest show of strength. Life is unpredictable. One day you may be on top, the next you may be at the bottom. Treat people with kindness, always. If you were in Charles' shoes, would you forgive siblings who treated you so cruelly? Do you think Elijah, Henry, and Amanda truly deserve Charles' forgiveness? Do you believe God punished the siblings for their wickedness, or was it just life's way of teaching them a lesson? I want to see your comments on the comments section. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more emotional, suspense-filled African stories. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss the next powerful story.